Hi, good morning. I'm here with Lloyd Tanner, the IT manager at Walgreens. And first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here at the U.S. Veterans Magazine.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I also want to congratulate Walgreens for being a top veteran-friendly employer for 2025. So we look forward to getting to know you a little bit more. And we have a few questions that we want to ask you.
I felt like
So
there
I'm going
should
to
have been
go
a
ahead.
little applaud that happened when you
Yes,
said that.
yes, absolutely. Woohoo, woohoo. Uh, so we'll go ahead and start. So, you proudly served for 20 years in the U.S. Navy. And
Mhm.
again, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Can you share just a bit about your journey transitioning from military life to civilian employment and how you ultimately found your way to
Like
Walgreens?
any veteran or active duty veteran knows, there's different tours of duty. We're probably in one location, maybe 3, maybe 4 years. So there's a lot of moving around. Um, I was fortunate enough to be in an area where I got some pretty good advice from some senior officers, actually, I was working with. God, I can't remember his name to save my life, but we were working. One of the advice that he gave me is that the Navy career doesn't last forever. Eventually, you would either get out or retire. He says one thing I recommend you do, especially if you stay in for 20 years, is to exercise your interviewing skills. Doesn't mean that you're going to actually take the job, but go
Mm,
out there and apply for some jobs and do some interviewing, and just kind of keep that muscle strong. It made a big difference in my opportunity when I got out because I've done it over, probably the last probably 12 years of my career. Just, I would set up interviews here and there and not take the job, right? It gave me an opportunity to exercise a muscle that wasn't there. And then, of course, you had some of the, people that came out before me that provided some advice on direction, things to do, what not to do. They gave me some good advice.
that's excellent. I think that's great advice to really keep and remember your interviewing skills. What were some of the challenges or surprises that came along that you encountered in that process?
Hmm. Um, well, I expected more from the transition assistance program. So TAP, I expected to get way more out of TAP that I didn't. Um, so I started to rely on communicating with those who came out before me. I found that I got way more and better information from veterans that came out before me than I did from some of the programs that were basically there to provide you the information you need to be successful, right?
Yeah.
And um, and I took some chances. I got to admit, I did take a couple of chances when it came to finding my next career. When I first came out of the military, I came out with a fresh surgery, so I was going through rehab and trying to just keep myself together. I had about I got out in February, and then I had leave and separation and all this other stuff all the way out through the retirement, which was in May. So sitting on a sofa one day, my wife came up to me and said, "Are you going to apply for jobs?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." This was sure. I think I might have to do some of that. This was like April. No, this was in the end of March. And when I started looking at what the jobs looked like, I'm like, man, I'm sitting on the sofa, got my foot up, and I'm like, you know what? Let me get some help. So I looked into some of these companies that were headhunters. A lot of people frown on them, but they got me into doors that I wouldn't have gotten into myself.
Excellent. And it's just like our publication. It is full of career advice, resources, and companies that are seeking individuals like yourself. And I
Correct.
really like the idea of you saying that look at some of the veterans that have come before you. It's almost like networking to
It
keep
is.
that networking going on. And I think that's another great advice to give a transitioning veteran is, don't expect your TAP center to just lay everything out and have like 4 job interviews for you. They're a
No.
great center, but they're only a starting point. From there, it's really up to you and listening to advice like you're giving. So I
Yeah.
think that's great. When it came to applying for civilian jobs, what advice do you have for veterans trying to translate their military responsibilities into language that recruiters and hiring managers understand?
talk to some of your other veterans. There are some programs out there that helps through the VA to help you um, translate that language, the military jargon, into civilian language. I was fortunate enough to work with my wife on my resume to make sure that I was on the right path. But that
Right.
was only after I had a foundation. I started
Hmm.
with a program. I can't remember the name of the program, and it helped me center my focus on what my resume needed to be. It didn't have to be all the military stuff. It has to show how leadership played a role in my career. It had to show how I was able to deal with challenges. It had to show how I was able to overcome some obstacles. It was how I was able to deal with difficult people, all the classic questions, right? Um, but it was going through a program, talking to my buddies, letting them check it out and make sure that I was on the right track. And these are people that are already in the civilian sector. And then, let my wife, she's a literary buff, go it on and light it up and make sure that it was saying what it would need to, what it needed to say. Outside of that, like I said before, using the headhunters also took that resume and catered it to jobs that were available out there that were really good fit
Sure.
based on the background I had. So
Right.
utilizing, I had a service, I had a buddy, I had my wife, and then the company that actually took my Insight Global was the name of them, took my resume and catered it towards a government job. It
Hmm.
really helped a ton.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there are many, services like that. I think there might even be some AI programs that can check, kind of also
Nowadays, yeah,
change the language. You put in what you were doing, and then it translates it into different careers.
yeah,
But that's great advice where use some tools. I also want to talk about the Walgreens Veterans Business Resource, the BRG. What was the BRG like when you first joined, and how has it evolved now that you've led it?
gotcha. So it was non-existent. It didn't have a leader. It was kind of hanging out there. It had gone through from the time that I came in, probably about three other leaders that have left the company, left the company,
Mm,
or transit, not left the company, but transitioned to a different location. They didn't feel as though that they were a benefit to the BRG here in the Chicago area. Um,
uh-huh.
what did we do? We started from the ground up, figuring out what people wanted, and trying to get those things to them. It was lunch and learns. It was tell our story. We started with tell our story. The tell our story uh, block was I loved it because it gave an opportunity for civilians to look at these guys who they think are doing some things that are absolutely remarkable. I can never do that. Um, and show them that it's just a job, right? So we took veterans from around the company, we interviewed them, and then we presented their story every other month so that veterans can be recognized. One thing about our BRG as a veteran, we're not born into it. When you think about all the other BRGs, from ethnic groups to lifestyle groups to whatever.
Right.
Um, Veterans are volunteered into it. So when we're able to show them these different people that are within those other BRGs and also veterans, we got an opportunity to show them as real people that served. When you look at that outside picture so far apart, and you just see
Right.
the guy with the service uniform on, people can make assumptions.
I,
This
I
takes
agree,
away that
but I,
assumption.
I think though it also has a lot to do with you, um, Mr. Tanner, that you are also real. You're down to
Hmm.
earth. You're
Hmm.
easy to talk to. You've
Hmm.
been there, done that. And I
Hmm.
think it has to do with some of your leadership skills that has taken it as well, that they felt
Hmm.
comfortable enough to want to share their story. Because
Absolutely.
if you, we all know veterans, they don't always want to share their stories. They're very
They
prideful.
don't.
They don't,
Yes.
they don't want any, like, to look at it the wrong way, that it's,
Agreed.
whatever judgment. And I
Yes.
think with you being someone that's very easy to talk to, I can attest to that, that you, I think, brought that leadership skill and that comfort level to allow that to really grow. And I think it's because you're leading it. So touche for Walgreens for recognizing that and for putting you ahead of that. And it's wonderful for the employees there to have that.
Yeah.
Our final question. So you got to really think about this one. I like
Okay.
this question. What I know, right? What would you say to a veteran who's just beginning their post-military career search? And what do you wish someone had told you at the start? So this is kind of like final advice from
Final
Lloyd Tanner.
advice. Um, I believe every journey is different. I accept challenges different than other people. I believe that those challenges that I go through allows me to create a callus so that I'm able to deal with things easier in the future. So what I would recommend for any new veteran is to find out what that callus is, strengthen that callus, work on a muscle that you probably haven't used before, and rely and trust in your brothers.
I like that.
And trusting your brothers because they could, brothers and sisters in service, because they can provide you with information that you probably didn't expect to have. A lot of people want to do it themselves, and I respect it. But take some of the guidance from the resources that are available, especially when it comes to focused careers. If you have a clearance, look
Excellent.
into those jobs that have clearance that will guide you down that path and get you where you want. If you want to stay within the government sector, look at the government jobs because they're going to
Right.
allow you to stay within, they're going to pigeonhole you into a place where you need to be. And if there's any level of possibility of service connected disability that you could have, explore it. Do not excuse it because it also acts as a catalyst to help get you into a job that maybe that you're looking for.
Excellent. Wow. That's very good. Very powerful. Thank you so much. And thank you again for your time. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
service. Thank you for all
Absolutely.
that you do for not only Walgreens, but all veterans. And I wish you the absolute, success and the best. And it's very obvious that Walgreens is a top veteran-friendly employer because of individuals like you.
Thank you.
So thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. I appreciate yours as well. Thank you.
Thank you.